Yes, guys, welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. We're all smiley because it's been an eventful one. Game week 1 deadlines are always crazy, and many of you will appreciate the build up to game week 1. There's so much hype there. Sometimes it's an anticlimax, and sometimes we come out of game week 1 winning. Sometimes we come out of game week 1 losing. Now, let me know in the comments, are you a winner or a loser? Are you a red or a green? Guys, I'm sorry to say, I might be presenting Chasing Green Arrows right now. You may know me as the guy that presents FPL and Fantasy Premier League on the television. Well, I'm a loser. I'm an absolute loser. It has been one terrible game week. What's the average? 60? Many of you in the chat will have got 70s. 49 points. So don't go moaning to me about your game week on 58 or 61. 49 miserable points. We'll see my team later in the show. You can all laugh at it if you want. But guys, genuinely, I'm not so caught up on it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd have loved way more points. But it's game week 1. We've got another 37 of these to go. We've had 11 performers. We've got another 400 odd to go. It's a marathon. All the cliches are there. All the cliches are there. Let's not be too caught up on a bad game week. The average is 57. Thank you, CH and Evor Can. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Carter's on 99. Michael on 75. Love that. 69 for Sparta. It's just exactly 62 points. Harry's disappointed. Again, just remember how many people search my team each week and look at my team each week and how much pressure there is on my rank. So don't be too disheartened on yours if you got more points than I did. Yeah, 56, I'm cooked. 52, Steve-O. 71 says off-core. Guys, just remember, content creators are there to provide you, hopefully, number one, I think, entertainment. Like, you spend hours, many of you, watching us, right? And secondly, we're there to guide and recommend players. We're not there to tell you how to pick your teams, and we don't say copy our teams. So, of course, some content creators are better at FPL than others. Some content creators have better seasons than others at different times. But genuinely, please don't watch Chasing Green Arrows so you can copy teams. That's not what we're here for. This is a game that relies heavily on variance, on luck, on a mixture of outcomes. Okay? Yeah. Like, I knew I was taking risks this season. And again, you're not watching me for a template team. You'll probably rarely see that. So, for example, I have no Arsenal players. I know that's potentially stupid, but I was happy to go in early doors without Arsenal. So when the world and their dog own Saka, find me a content creator that doesn't own Saka. Here's one. Poor decision, game week 1, but let's not say it's a poor decision yet. Let's not say it's a write-off. Let's not say it's a great... literally, we can't judge a player off 90 minutes or 1 week. Let's judge Saka versus Son, for example, after 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks. And let's see how we go. CH says, never apologise, Gianni. It's a game. We're here for banter and the great atmosphere, talking about a game we all love. Well, thanks, CH. I was going to say that, and then I saw 1 or 2 comments. Where was he? What did he say? I wasn't going to read him out. Nixie says, 49 as a content creator shows you shouldn't follow them all the time. I mean, you shouldn't follow us any of the time, as I've just said. FPL fella in the house, I'm just glad you're not swearing or smoking. No, I don't do those things. Okay, I do swear, but I don't smoke. Best ever 85. Well done, Michael. Guys, congrats, by the way, if you own Pedro Porro. What a win that was. I was at the Spurs game. I can give you a little eye test from that Spurs game. And I can give you an eye test from the City ground. I watched 2 Premier League games. I've seen 4 teams live this weekend. Forest versus Bournemouth. Guys, the best. But look, firstly, it's not just me today. We are waiting, and he is coming in 10 minutes' time for Mr. Dean Jones in the house, so stay tuned for that. Also, please show your love for the channel by hitting those buttons. Please like and subscribe. We're going to show you my team, Big Man Bakkar's team, Dean's team. We're going to talk early transfers as well. But this is the key. Time for a little bit of ITES scouting. Let's answer some questions. Favorite kit on the wall, says Animations. I've got some good ones there. From Rui Costa. I've literally got my collection of 10s and a 9 and a 3. Maradona, that is a Napoli shirt that was released when he died. A Napoli ex-Argentina shirt, which I paid far too much money for and then got heavily reduced after a few months. I bought it on the day he died. Yeah. Messi from the World Cup, Ronaldo 9, Batici 3, Del Piero 10. From all those shirts, my favourite, to be honest, it's probably Messi. That Argentina shirt is going to be iconic for a very long time, isn't it? So, guys, let me get to some eye test scouting from the Forest game. What I'd say, like, forget FPL for a second. Morgan Gibbs-White is that player when you watch and you go, he's just a bit better than everyone else. And I've never seen Morgan Gibbs-White. That was a joy. Like, he's always got a little bit of time, a little bit of space, more than the others. He's super talented in terms of his touch on the ball. It was a joy to watch him play. There's not much else. Semenyo also caught my eye. Remember, he's now listed as a midfielder. He actually played number 9, but he won't play there much for Bournemouth this season. He'll play out wide, but he was very good. Chris Wood's a donkey and did very little. He got very lucky for his goal in terms of how it fell to him. Chris Wood owners had an absolute haul there. I don't know how. Did jack all. And FPL Fella says, does Leicester not serve decent food? Why did I have a scammy banana? So, guys, I arrived at Leicester with a banana in my pocket. A banana in my pocket, jacket pocket, not a banana elsewhere. And because I was leaving the house in a rush, the guy I was going with turned up early and I was like, quick, grab a banana, need something. And then I got a hot chocolate and I was like, this is quite funny. Here I am at the Monday Night Football, hot chocolate in one hand, banana in the other. So I was like, yeah, let's have a photo because it's quite funny. And obviously I posted it on social. But Leicester Spurs, again, I'm so happy that I'm changing the way I watch football. For far too long, Fantasy Premier League has made my football watching experience at times worse, where you just back your players and just go, oh, who's getting the goal, who's getting the assist. And for that moment, when Jamie Vardy scored, and at my end, and I was with the home fans who haven't had a Premier League football match for over a year, and it was, a terrible first half, and Spurs should have been 3-0 up. But to see that Vardy equaliser, yes, it was probably bad for my team because I had Son lose a clean sheet point, but also as soon as Leicester scored, the momentum in the game changed. It then became all Leicester. So it wasn't good for my team. I had Solanke and Son, who were both on a blank, and Vardy scored, and I was so happy. So that was nice. Shout out, Abby, for your super chat. Haaland triple captain. There's fewer doubles this year, correct. But there's still going to be a couple of double game weeks, and you're still going to probably use triple captain in one of them. Guys, I don't love it. Look, of course, single game weeks can work. Personally, it's not for me. I see the appeal. You go, there's no midweek fixture for Man City. Later in the season, there'll often be a midweek fixture, Champions League, FA Cup, whatever. The other cup competition, which I can't remember, in the community. What's it called? League Cup. And it's Ipswich who play away. And Haaland looks good and he's fit. But what I would say about Haaland, sure, he's going to bang against Leicester and sure, he's the obvious captaincy shout. But in terms of triple captain, I would just be slightly wary that Man City aren't in full flow yet. Man City still haven't had a Foden start. He'll probably start against Ipswich. De Bruyne is not up and running. Rodri is probably going to play, but we don't know. It's not a fully functional Man City yet for their high standards. And I want a fully functional Man City towards the second half of the season where they really click. And I wonder early on, look, they could go beat Ipswich 6-0. Of course they could. But they could also only win 2-0. And I just feel, one, a double game week's better for that. But two, this time of season, we all see the headlines and go, oh, Man City won 2-0. Brilliant. Against Chelsea. If you like your XG, and I do like my XG, then honestly, it was level pegging. In fact, Chelsea just outperformed Man City by most models. City weren't all that. They just finished their chances better and relied on a goalkeeper howler. There's 200 people watching in the chat. Thank you guys for joining. We don't usually stream at 5, so that is why it is always worth hitting that notification bell when you hit the subscribe and like button. We will be streaming tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I'll be joined by big man Bakar on that one. So look, guys, we Carabao Cup. There we go. I knew it. Thank you, Faz. Guys, I want to show you our teams, but we're going to wait for that. We're going to show you our points in a second. Let's talk a little bit eye test scout on Sonny, because British 87 said he was very quiet and played so wide. He was hugging the touchline. But I think that first half he was really good. Second half he was rubbish and non-existent, and Spurs weren't good. But I do think he was good first half. And actually, I should have had points. Guys, who was your biggest sort of eye test scout of the week? Who was the player that really caught your eye? And don't just name the obvious, like, sure, we can say Salah and Saka. One for me is Jota. Thought he was superb, and I think he's clearly going to be the first choice 9, unless he's injured. Another one, Minter, before he went off, looks really good at Brighton. Double appear at Captain's son. Eze was amazing. Do you know what? FPL fella says Kudus, who I think did really well in the BPS. Rodgers, says David, in the same fixture. Rodgers was really good. He played 90 as well, almost like a second striker. I've got Rodgers in my team on my bench. Matoma was great too. And Burmo. Why do we all sleep on Burmo all the time? Rico Lewis drifted into some nice central areas. Visser, cheap, 6 million option. Do you know what? Even in 2 years ago, I heard this quote when Tony was in full flow at Brentford. All the players, the club itself, everyone that works at the club, when you hear people asked about it, they all go, when asked who's the best finisher at the club. Now, bearing in mind Tony was in full flow, they still said Visser. Visser is recognised internally at Brentford as the best finisher of that football club. Perhaps we shouldn't sleep on him. Linus makes a good point on Szoboszlai, guys. We'll flash some of these up. Szoboszlai did look really good. He's 6.5 million. He's playing in the number 10. Szoboszlai is a very, very good option. Yeah, Hudson-Odoi looked good. He was on the touchline that I was in front of. I think we just had a Bruno one as well. So let's talk Bruno. He also looked great in terms of expected goals. He was right up there, over 1 XG, Bruno. He should have scored, and his owners are very unlucky. We've seen Visser there as well. Let's go to the next one and talk about Matoma, British 87. Thank you. So look, Matoma, forgotten man a little bit, because we're all like, Minter's great. Let's sign João Pedro in our teams. But no, he was really, really good. Let's move on then to, who are we just on? I missed that one. Skip back. Semenyo, yes, Lassad. Semenyo was very, very good. Again, I noticed from watching the game live that Semenyo was playing as the number 9. He won't play number 9 because Bournemouth have signed a new striker who, by the way, is coming at 6 million. The Bournemouth number 9, who they've spent like 50 million on from Porto, the Brazilian kid, has come in at 6 million. Solanke was 7.5, playing the same position. This new kid's going to have pens. 6 million, genuinely an option. Now, Semenyo will play wide. He's a 5.5 mid, I think. We did have someone else just flash up after Semenyo that I wanted to talk about. So we'll go back to that if we can. No, it wasn't Mosquera. There was another name I saw. It flashed really quick. Maybe it was before that. Let me see if I can find it in the chat. There we go. Ice G. Honestly, the guy I went to Leicester with, he's a season ticket holder and Leicester fan. I said to him before the game, I was like, I'm really excited to see Buonanotte. And then we saw the lineup and saw that he wasn't playing wide. He was playing like as a second striker to Vardy, as a number 10. Genuinely, I think he was Leicester's best player. Now, I'm just going to check Buonanotte's price at Leicester, because he's definitely going to be listed as a midfielder. And honestly, I thought he was the best player on the pitch for Leicester. Second half, he was amazing before he went off on the 78th minute. Yeah, he's 5 million. Honestly, I'd go so far as say he's going to be one of the standout 5 million options. Now, Leicester's fixtures get really good after they play Arsenal in game week 6. And we might be wildcarding around then. And Buonanotte might exist, because in game week 7 to 10, 7, 8, 9, and 10, they play Bournemouth, Southampton, Forest, and Ipswich. Honestly, if Buonanotte is getting 78 minutes every time, playing as a second striker, not a bad option. Not a bad option at all. At all. I really like that punt. Guys, thank you so much for your suggestions there. You've been eye test scouting this weekend very, very well. Of course, there's data and there's stats, and that's why Wednesday's show is so important if you're into perhaps something that's a little bit more detailed than the loose discussions we have over who might have caught my eye. Because tomorrow on Chasing Green Arrows, we're going to be discussing the 3 big questions and we'll be showing stats to back that up. So we'll be looking at Quansah replacements, for example. And I can see Sally has said, is Rico Lewis an option? We'll wait and hold that discussion until tomorrow because we might have a bit more news. We'll also be looking at tomorrow potential Nkunku replacements, if that's your flavour. Yeah, in fact, that's just reminded me. I need to probably send some more stats ahead of tomorrow's show, but I can't do that because I'm going to play football as soon as the stream finishes. So we might try and dig out some stats from game week 1 that I will send later tonight, if that works for our producers. They can let me know in the private chat. Here I am having 2 conversations at once, chatting to you guys, but also chatting to our producers. Maybe when I get home tonight, I will look at some XG stats or shot stats or something, i.e. when we're shopping for our best players. Because, yeah, to show you Nkunku replacements, we're going to have to show some numbers, aren't we? We're going to have to show you some, maybe not even... What I like to do at this point in the season, guys, before I even identify individuals, I like to look at teams. So I like to go, okay, let's see who's having the most shots. Let's see who's the most dynamic in attack. And then when I go, oh, Brighton, oh, Arsenal, oh, then I go, okay, now let's get some players. Gianni, red or yellow flag tomorrow with a hamstring injury, 100%. I will not last more than 60 minutes. I am like a broken man. I've got the body of a 50-year-old and I play with 16 and 20 and 25-year-olds. I'm the oldest player on my team. It's noticeable. I'm centre back. I cramp up after literally 45 minutes. It ain't fun. But you guys aren't watching for that. You're watching for FPL advice, which is why we're going to be looking at our points of the game week when Dean arrives. And Dean is going to be here in a couple of minutes. We'll also do a Q&A at the end of the stream with Dean as well. And I'll also take some questions from you lot as always too. A lot are looking at that Quansah dilemma. I am going to park that till tomorrow. But my top line thoughts on that are there's still a 40% chance he starts. Baresi, Batici. I'd love to say 10 years ago, maybe I modelled myself on his game. Maybe 15 years ago. Yeah, a lot of goalies did get bonus points. That's a good spot. Guys, what I'd say about the premium defenders and the premium forwards, they all got points. They all got points. Like every defender in the game that was priced 5.5 million. Quiz question for you. Every defender in the game priced 5.5 million or above that started at the weekend returned. They got a minimum of like 6 points. Other than what defender? What defender priced 5.5 million or more? So 5.5 to 7 to Trent 7. Which defender in that price band is the only one that didn't return this game week that started for their team? Ake didn't start. Oh, you guys are good. Yeah. I did tweet this earlier. Fabian Schär. Guys, every Arsenal defender got a clean sheet. Every City defender got a clean sheet. No, Pickford's 5 and he's not a defender. Every Arsenal, City, Liverpool defender, Van Dijk, Robertson, Trent all returned. And guys, the other one didn't even keep a clean sheet. He scored a goal, 9-pointer for Pedro Porro. He's 5.5 million. You get what you pay for. When we look at goalkeepers, the expensive ones, most of them returned. The 5.5 guys, they returned. Pope at 5 million. Return. He got 9 points, Pope. So look, it was a really good start for the premiums. Even in attack, the game's 3 most expensive players. No, sorry, 2 most expensive players. Haaland, Salah. Okay, Palmer didn't, but then the 4th most expensive is the 10 million options, Saka and Son. Saka returned. Yeah. Calafiori didn't start, so that's null and void. Yeah. So there we go. Dean is on his way, guys, and we have 300 of you watching, which is awesome. Thank you for supporting Chasing Green Arrows. Do you know you can watch Chasing Green Arrows 3 times a week? Do you know we do live so we can interact with you lot? So you can watch us usually on a Monday, digesting the game week just gone. And usually the Monday streams, I can't remember if they're going to be the day. No, I think that evening. I think it's Monday night. And then I think it's Wednesday day and Friday day. So look out for that. What we'll try and do, though, is pin that somewhere so you know. So both on our Twitter page, on our Instagram, but also on YouTube in our header, we'll put, because most weeks it will be the same. Mondays at 7. I think that's what the time is. I can't even remember. We'll work it out and let you know. If I don't know, how the hell do you know? Wednesdays at 1 usually. Tomorrow we're doing 2 though. But we'll have a set time. And then Friday. I want you to know, here we go. Mondays at 7. Wednesdays at 1. Fridays at 1. We'll go with that. And if it's different, we'll let you know when we post it. But I want you guys to know with routine. Every Monday night at 7 o'clock, come over to Chasing Green Arrows. I want you to know every Wednesday, it's me and Big Man Bakar. I want you to know every Friday, it's me and Dean. Whatever. That level of consistency is going to keep you coming back and back, I hope. And the themes of the show will be the same. Monday is all about reviewing the game week, digesting early thoughts, big questions. Wednesday is all about the big questions and the stats. We're going to give you 3 questions, top Quansah replacements. Yeah, we could discuss it, but we do that on the Monday and Friday anyway. So we're going to show you with some numbers. For example, I want to know when I'm shopping for a Quansah replacement, what the expected goals conceded was from the weekend just gone. Which teams kept the best XGC numbers? That might be one for you tomorrow, Faz. Expected goals conceded, best 6 in terms of teams, before we even look at individuals. And then Friday is all about locking in our teams. It's almost like a deadline, right? Giving you our team reveals for the week ahead. So, guys, that's where we're at. I'm playing. I've got football tonight, Harry. You're playing 11 aside. I am playing 11 aside. I've already, look, I'm playing 11 aside. I'm already set because I've got nothing says you're going to play football like bare feet and flip-flops and the undershorts. So I'm already dressed and ready so I can shoot out the house. Quansah, by the way, is due to drop in price tomorrow, which makes tomorrow's stream so timely. At the moment, I was worried he might have a price drop tonight because I've got a decision to make there. So is Big Man. And look, we might not even be selling him. But when I look at Quansah on FPL statistics, yeah, he's very close to a price drop. He needs 13,000 more managers to sell him. Fortunately, I don't think that happens tonight. He was on 25,000 this morning, but that deadline's around 2 a.m. We've got about 8 hours to it. I think we'll be fine. But then tomorrow, almost certainly, he's going to drop. That move is gaining momentum. Dean Jones is in the house. Dean, how are you, mate?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Has Big Man not turned up because I'm better than him at this game?
Are you better than him at this game? Are you beating him?
Of course I'm beating him.
Oh, I've not looked. I'm avoiding every league and I don't even know my rank, genuinely. I've not looked. I know my score because I had to look it up for a stream, but I'm not looking at any mini league, anything, because I know I've had a
I am, mate. I am.
Come on, how'd you get on?
There's not very many weeks where I'm top of the league, is there? So I'm top of almost every mini league at the moment. 76
Come on,
points.
show us that. Show us your team then. Show us that team.
76 points. Yeah, it was a good one, mate. Yeah. Hello, everyone. By the way. Yeah, I was having a little giggle to myself over the weekend because I'm not the expert, obviously, on this show. I just watched football, and I said, didn't I? Do you know what? I'm just going to pick what I see. I'm not going with all these trends. I'm not going for the picks that a lot of people say are guaranteed to bang or whatever. And a couple of those hunches paid off in the end. Like Rico Lewis was somebody that I didn't talk about. And I was like, I even mentioned it on the stream. Obviously, I did a stream of my own, obviously, on Deadline. And I was like, I've spoken to people at Man City. Rico Lewis is playing. I don't have any way into that Man City defence apart from that. I haven't got Gvardiol.
He's cheap.
So I was like, yeah, I'm going Rico Lewis. He obviously can't stay because eventually he'll lose his spot. But that was a good one that paid off.
You've still got Calvert-Lewin or not?
Yeah, I got Calvert-Lewin. As unlucky.
I'm losing to a man with Calvert-Lewin.
Mate, Calvert-Lewin should have got more points. Yes, there's the team. They're called San Diego Rifles. We can call them Dean's Heroes for today if you want. But yeah, it was decent. Obviously, I knew that Pedro Porro was going to get into the box and score headers this season. So that was a nice little one. to come in yesterday.
I think big man's probably got Pedro Porro as well, which is where I probably fell really far behind because that 9 points is massive this game week.
He has got Porro, yeah. He has got Porro.
So, that's why I'm just such a loser.
Yeah,
it was right in front of me last night. I was in front of that goal. I was literally behind the goal Porro scored.
Oh, yeah, I saw you into that match.
I'd seen Solanke and Son missing chances and opportunities galore, and then Porro goes and pops up with a goal. Of course he does.
Yeah. Phil James, big man is waiting for Dean to post his Game Week 2 team so he can copy it. But yeah, Pope, 9 points. Well. Pope, 9 points was another late one that I decided to go for because didn't have any Newcastle defenders. And I was like, Southampton are rubbish. They're not going to score.
Huge.
Going to go.
A huge one.
Minte was unlucky. He played really well. Got an injury. Didn't even want to come off. Was begging the guys to leave him on the pitch.
It was concussion though, right? He had to.
I mean, he had a head injury. I don't know if he necessarily had concussion, but he was like, I'm fine.
And he's ready to start game week 2. I know he's flagged, but the concussion protocol, I think, is 6 days, and it's 7 days to their fixture. So Minte is available for game week 2, or will be, guys, if you're worried about that.
Yeah, I guess the only frustration really was that, as I talked about on deadline, like I was between Haaland and Isak for the captaincy, and it was on Haaland for like the whole of pre-season. Obviously, I said I'm just going to like stick it on him and leave it. But because I was just convinced that Newcastle were going to beat Southampton 3-4-0, and to be honest, they probably would have if they had 11 men. But it is what it is. Everybody else had Isak, so it didn't really miss out on too much. Dwight McNeil was going to take the penalty that DCL got and VR took away. But obviously Calvert-Lewin won the penalty, so he would have got extra points for that.
I just looked at his numbers. When you said he should have had points, I get it now because the penalty, you're right. He could have easily had the assist. His numbers is expected assist 0.01. I've got this all I've got to go off, guys, because Dean's had an amazing week. So I've got to pick out one bad player. His XG in the game for a forward that played 75 minutes at home was 0.00. So he didn't even have an opportunity, which was. But I mean, Everton were just
anything.
Everton were just bad, right? Yeah.
For 20 minutes they weren't bad. They weren't bad at all. And actually, Jack Harrison was really good. And
I've not watched it, to be fair.
Harrison was for Everton is definitely their most dangerous player, and he's getting to good positions to have shots. He's the guy to probably look out for if and when we ever want anyone from Everton. But Calvert-Lewin, I said, it's a 3-week stint. He's got 2 home fixtures in 3 weeks. He's now got they got Spurs away. Keeping him for that. I'm not too fussed. So Calvert-Lewin stays in. Obviously, there's issues in the team because Minte. Look, I don't know if he plays the next game, especially as Adingra came on and scored. That's going to be an issue. In terms
They've
of
got so much strength there, haven't they? In depth,
they have. It's like
wide forwards,
so strong. But said in pre-season, didn't I? Minte looks like one of the must-have players, and I was pleased to see him playing that well. Sally says his Barco's starting. I mean, everybody's been trolled on Barco with him.
It's the 5th highest owned defender in the game.
Hinshaw would get in the nod. I'm glad I've stuck Barco on the bench. He can just stay there for now. We'll see what happens with that one.
Yeah, you can't be wasting a transfer on a 4 million defender yet. So we just hope that it's one of those things where maybe he had a bit of an injury and he wasn't. I know he was on the bench, but maybe because he did have a muscle injury a couple of weeks ago, missed the pre-season game. And maybe there'll be certain games he does play. But Hinshelwood, we've seen in the past at right back do well and had a good game. And because Brighton kept a clean sheet, you'd be surprised if they changed it. That back line.
The back line, yeah, for sure. I don't see any reason why they would. But Mitoma, like, straight back on it. Like, definitely their most dangerous player. Like,
underrated pick that. We're all talking about the exciting picks on the right, but Mitoma, spend a little bit more and you get assurance of a start.
Yeah, exactly. We hadn't talked about him at all in pre-season, had we? And he's definitely one to look out for. Michael says Dean could be light on defenders this week. I don't really think so. Quansah's gone. I've transferred him out already. Anthony Robinson's in.
Oh, tell us why. Tell us why, because the fixtures for Fulham look amazing.
Robinson he had a good performance against United. I see he even made the Who Scored Team of the Week.
He was on for 2 bonus until Xerxes scored. He was on for
really? I didn't know that.
8-pointer, mate, he would have got.
Yeah, I think at this point, I mean, Quansah getting pulled at half time, that was really disappointing. I thought defensively, I thought Quansah was actually doing well.
Yeah.
But I guess he was giving the ball away. And we're seeing there the ruthless side of Slot. That I don't think Klopp would have done that. But this is Slot. And I think that if he's making that change, I don't want to be continuing with Quansah. And I think that Robinson, knowing that he's got Leicester, Ipswich, West Ham coming up, guaranteed to play. I'm not saying Fulham will keep clean sheets, but with Robinson, I'm banking on that assist potential as well, even when they don't keep clean. So I would, to have Robinson, Lewis, and Porro games against Ipswich, Leicester, and Everton at home, all three of those players, is something I'm happy with. And my main dilemma really is if Minte doesn't play, then I have to have one of these subs coming into action. And to be honest, I'll probably take a punt on Mosquera, a Wolves defender against Chelsea.
They're at home.
They're at home. Chelsea, obviously, like the most unpredictable team in the world. Absolute shambles at the moment. Of course, Chelsea should score. They've got like 17 attacking midfielders who are really good, but they can't all play. They don't know what's going on. And Wolves played pretty well at the weekend. So, yeah, that's kind of where I am.
Mate, tell me more about Robinson at home, because 3 of the next 4 for Fulham are at home and 2 of the next 4 are newly promoted teams. Fulham's defensive record at home, the way you thought Fulham shaped up without tossing, and Bassey gave the ball away a couple of times, but it's usually so reliable. That Fulham backline, do you feel like we can bank on them in the next 3-4 games with the home fixtures, given the fact it's newly promoted teams? Like, chances of clean sheets for you? Because many are looking at Robinson for Quansah.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem with Fulham is potentially that what Man United did was they kind of pressed us, but their press was really good, Man United. And Fulham started that game really well, I thought. And I wasn't particularly concerned about our back line, but Sasa Lukic and Andreas Pereira were getting pushed back further and further. Andreas Pereira can't really play that role particularly well. Like, he's too deep. Like, as an attacking midfielder, the role that Emile Smith-Rowe's got, Andreas is good. But I'm not convinced about him in the role. Now that Sander Berge is coming in for Fulham, that changes things a bit. Fulham's backline has a bit more protection. Calvin Bassey and Issa Diop is actually a pretty good combination. Fulham's fullbacks are strong. Bernd Leno's one of the best goalkeepers in the division. Yeah, I mean, people say, why didn't you pick Robinson first game week? Because Quansah
was a gift. If Quansah was going to start every game, he's a gift. He still is a gift if he starts every game.
He was 15 minutes away from a clean. Usually subs don't just get subbed at half time. Like, that was extremely unlucky. You'd think he'd at least get put out there for the second half and maybe gets taken off on 60.
Quansah was a great pick. I'm sorry. I stand to it. Quansah was a great pick. Like, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and what happened. But
because no casuals were picking Quansah.
No.
Right? Nobody, like, some people are like, why are you picking Quansah? Like, because he's starting against Ipswich. Same reason I got Rico Lewis. Like, exactly the same thing. Like, on paper, like, people would have looked at my team. Well, they did look at my team, being like, what on earth is this team? You've got Pope, you've got Lewis, you've got Quansah, you've got Minte, Gibbs-White, Calvert-Lewin. It's like, because there's more than 15 players in this. There's 500 players in this league, and there's not a right or wrong 15 that you can pick.
Yeah,
and you've got to look a bit deeper.
Like Rowie said, for sure he was a good pick. No, I'm sorry. The decision to pick Quansah was a good one, is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about he's a good pick that in fact he got 1 point in 45 minutes, guys. But he was sometimes we have to change our FPL opinion on decision and outcome. They're 2 very different things. The decision to pick Quansah was amazing. The decision to pick Quansah was very good. It was solid. It was a Liverpool starting defender for 4.5. Now, how often do you see centre-backs rotated? How often do you see centre-backs taken up at half-time? We called the fact he started. We called the fact Liverpool got a clean sheet. On another day, he gets 90 minutes and he's set to start Brentford and gets another clean sheet there. And we're looking at a 4.5 million defender that has jumped to 4.6, 4.7 because all the casuals are now on him. And it's a great pick. Now, the outcome, sure, it was a bad one, but we didn't know that Liverpool were going to lose too many duels and that Quansah was going to be the whipping boy for Konate to come on. And by the way, the post-match quote from Slot is really interesting. He doesn't dig Quansah out. He says, we were losing too many duels and I needed to get Konate on the pitch. You're not going to take Van Dijk off, are you? So Quansah wasn't bad, but he thought Konate would be stronger at winning duels.
It did work
which
out.
He is.
It did work.
Which he is. We get that. Like, he is. And Quansah's better with his feet. There is a world in which Quansah still starts versus Brentford, by the way. Personally, I think it will be Konate, but it's not a foregone conclusion that Konate is now first choice either.
No, I mean, everyone will jump off of him now, I'm sure. Like the 5.7% ownership. I mean, that'll be probably down to...
He drops in price tonight or tomorrow night. Definitely one of the two.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got off of it early because especially as Robinson's... well, he's just got the fixtures now. I didn't want Robinson for game week 1 against Man United. Knew they wouldn't keep a clean sheet. Yeah, there's a couple of people, Jenny and Sally, both mentioning Isak and whether they should be jumping off of him now, potentially onto Solanke. I don't think so. He's Alex Isak. Like, I don't think you should be doing that. Don't forget, Newcastle were playing most of that game with 10 men.
Yeah,
like, that's not a normal structure of a team. Like, I'm absolutely convinced that if that had been 11v11 for 90 minutes, Isak would have got at least 1 goal, and that would have been 3-0. So, yeah, I think that's a risk. Wouldn't say that Solanke would fill me with much more optimism than Isak going into that game week. I think you could toss a coin over which one you would pick, so you might as well stick with Isak. I won't have him as captain for this week, Isak. That'll be back to Haaland as planned all along. But yeah, obviously, like for this game week as well, I've got the double up. I've got Salah, I've got Haaland, both of them home fixtures, Brentford and Ipswich. So I've got some optimism around that this week as well. That gives me the edge. People saying, "Am I going to keep Gibbs White?" And yeah, I'm not going to jump off of him at this stage of the season. He was one of those kind of mid-priced players that I know he's going to play pretty much 90 minutes every week. He's a captain. He's going to be one of the most dangerous players from that lower tier of the Premier League that you could be picking.
Best player on the pitch at the City Ground. When I've never seen him live, and he was a joy to watch live.
He's brilliant, mate. He's absolutely brilliant. There's still a couple of Premier League teams that attempted. I know that Tottenham like Morgan Gibbs White a lot and actually see him as more of an 8 who can give them energy and burst out of the middle. I think he would probably be priced out of it at this stage, but I know that they've had an eye on him. So, yeah, Gibbs White, Southampton away. I can't take him out for that fixture. No. Southampton obviously weren't dreadful, but equally, Brereton Diaz going around just winding people up to try and get them down to 10 men isn't a tactic that's going to work week after week. Leo says what to do with Porro. Well, I haven't seen the update today. Obviously, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning here. So I haven't seen anything since the Tottenham game. Has there been any update that you've seen, mate, about Porro? I've seen what the injury was. And
mate, when it happened, I was like, get off the pitch for a good... I don't know if this came across on TV cameras, but for a good 2, maybe 3 minutes, he was having to run up and down. Like, he was so struggling. I was like, go down. I've seen a video of him post-match with his sock off on one foot and on the other. So clearly, like, he put ice or something on that ankle. I've also seen a still image of sort of some over-rotation on the ankle where it happened. That could just be a sprain, or it could have gone as far as ligament damage. I would like to think the fact that he was walking around and doing stuff post-match, where he was having photos with one of his old teammates from Leicester, that it's probably just a sprain and he'll need a scan. But we've got reason to be concerned. What I would say is Ange Postecoglou is probably number 1 manager in the league for giving you accurate press conference stuff. Steve Cooper told us Vardy wasn't around. He played. Eddie Howe constantly lies to us. Arteta the same. Ange Postecoglou is the other end of the spectrum where he tells us how it is. And if he's available, he'll tell us.
Yeah. Today, obviously, there'll be no update at all for Pedro Porro. Tottenham playing last night means today is a day off, basically, for the squad. So he will be given time to kind of recover from it, and then they assess the injury. You at least need 24 hours or something like that, really, before you can start to establish anything. So I would imagine once we get into Wednesday, Thursday, we can get a better idea. There's still a long time for him to recover from an injury like that. By the time we get to Saturday, obviously that would throw up a dilemma in my team because it would mean that I'm digging into that bench, which isn't that strong at all. I'll tell you what, that Tim Erogbanam, by the way, for Everton, he's such a good player. He's not going to get any points in fantasy. He'll get the occasional assist and he'll have the occasional shot. He's a brilliant footballer.
Is it? I know nothing about it. He's a starter, right? He's going to start
every single week.
Which you need at 4.5 million. That's all you can ask.
Exactly. So his price will stay pretty steady. Might even slightly rise because I don't think Everton will be bad all season. But he plays these. He looks for these like dinked little passes through to the front line. So I don't want to be using him, but I don't mind having him there. Same as Mosquera, he's going to, for now especially, he's playing all the time. So you just want players there that are actually going to feature. But I'm very aware that I can't have too many of those, especially with Calvert-Lewin if he isn't scoring and stuff like that. Will you captain Haaland or Salah? It's got to be Haaland. I mean,
I don't think that's even a debate this week.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, obviously Salah's got a good fixture against Brentford, but Brentford are a good team. Ipswich were good for 45 minutes, especially. Like they did a good job against Liverpool, but there's not many teams that can go to the Etihad.
That's the key.
And hold up. They've got to just resist. And it's virtually impossible.
They're bullies at the Etihad City against weaker teams as well.
They're horrible to take. They're absolutely horrible. And we've already seen, Haaland's not in the mood to mess around. Cucurella wants him to help him with his cramp. He's like, no chance, mate. No chance.
Even the goal for Haaland was just like, he means business.
He was so strong. Well. He was so strong in that moment to barge him off the ball and just dink it over the keeper.
I don't think many strikers score that. I think that's a really underrated goal.
It was a hard chance, wasn't it? It was a hard chance. You're right. Not many players would have had the strength and been able to still stand up and then come up
and then the balance to still execute the shot. Exactly. When you're being barged, to be like, not only shrug it off, but maintain your core strength to execute a little dink like that. I was actually really I was surprised even hard. I did not expect Haaland to score it. When I saw that there was contact around and the keeper was so close, I didn't expect the net to bulge, which obviously when we watch Haaland, we always expect the net to bulge on those sorts of chances. But I thought it was such a difficult chance and a really underrated finish that's probably not been analysed that much because it's Haaland. But I don't think any other number 9 scores that in the league. Very few anyway.
Yeah, not many. Maybe
Kai Havertz might have scored that.
Yeah, there's a couple that might. But yeah, it's a tough one. I was very relieved to see it go in. Obviously, same with Salah. I was relieved to see him get on the score sheet. I didn't think
well
it was
played with
happen.
that pick.
Yeah, especially when he passed to Jota.
Why did you do that? That's so not like Salah. He's so greedy usually.
Are you winding me up? Why are you passing to him? And then thankfully his own opportunity came up. Talking of greedy players, Luis Diaz is off the scale at the moment. He is like ball hogger of the century.
He wants the headlines.
He really does.
And what did you make of, for me, I was watching it in a fan park in Nottingham, so I didn't hear commentary, but the Trent cross at 0-0 to Jota's head 5 yards out, for Jota not to... Jota's so good in the air. And I was like, goal and assist. That's huge for me. And probably bonus points. You look at that one moment and go, that's 15 points for me. It's horrendous that miss. But Jota, other than that miss, looked really good, didn't he?
Yeah, and Trent too, to be honest. I mean, obviously I've said I'm not picking Trent at this price point and stuff. And we'll have to see how stubborn I can be to that as the season wears on. If it's going to hurt me, then I'm going to have to get away from it because he made it look so simple. And obviously it was Ipswich, so they're not the best team, but they were working extremely hard. But yeah, Trent, the way that he just turns and makes space for himself is just ludicrous. And so when he's given that sort of time and space to present across, the assists are going to be off the scale. So yeah, I thought actually Trent was very, very good. And Jota, it's just one of those. There's nothing you can really say about it. 9 times out of 10, he sticks that in the back of the net. It was just an unfortunate moment, maybe because it's the first game of the season. So that was an unlucky one. Saka, I thought was brilliant. I think I was relieved. Obviously, I was Son or Saka, and I was yo-yoing on it. And it just came down to the fact, really, in the end for me, that Arsenal are just obviously way better than Tottenham and way more reliable. And assuming Saka takes pens and Son possibly doesn't, I was like, I can't ignore Saka in this game anymore.
Yeah. That's what stung me. The Son versus Saka thing really stung me because that's 10 points difference.
10
but
points,
I'm not going to judge it game week 1. I'm going to judge it in game week, maybe after next week, and look at it from a 2 or 3 game week window to go, yeah, was it a good or bad shout? But Son could very easily catch Saka in game week 2. But Saka clearly is a great pick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So obviously, like, this is the price I pay. If you're going premiums in Haaland, Salah, Saka, and Isak, I'm paying the price that there are going to be flaws elsewhere in this team. This week, I've got away with it because Porro's scored, Lewis has come well, Minte's come up with an assist. So I've got away with it this weekend. I'm very aware that there is potential for this to go wrong at times, but that's why I need to make quick decisions, like deciding who replaces Quansah and getting Robinson in and thinking, right, that needs to pay off. And then, the potential problem of Porro and or Minte not playing is obviously another issue, but one I'll probably just let roll for this game week just because it's so early.
Question about swapping in Cucurella for Quansah. I don't think Cucurella's 4.5. I think he's 5. Yeah, he's 5. A lot of the Chelsea, you could get Colwill at 4.5 if you want a Chelsea defender, but I'd swerve him. We'll move on to my team. Sorry, Dean, what was that?
I said, who would want a Chelsea defender?
Yeah, you just wouldn't. We've got to show my team because there's not long left. But Dean, fair play for not going Smith Rowe and going heart over head because you went head with Minter, which is probably the better option. But
yeah,
let's see how I got on. We've also got Big Man's team to show you. So we'll answer those. Whatever just flashed up, we can still address that. But just want to come on to my team and we want to talk about, so Jota to Foden for free. No. Jota's the best. Jota's arguably the best value pick in the game. He's just got 8 points. He's playing up front. He's 7.5 mid. Get Foden another way, but don't sell Jota.
Yeah, I mean, do we know that Foden starts this week?
I think he probably does, but doesn't play 90.
Doesn't play 60? 90 for sure.
60?
And 60 might even be a danger. It might be a 58-59 moment.
Yeah, it could be.
That there is the risk of that. Obviously, an hour of Phil Foden against Ipswich does its upside.
Go to Bruyne if you want to go 9.5 mid. He probably will play 90.
But given, Savio and Doku are going to get plenty of opportunities across this season. Grealish on the bench too. I'm not convinced.
I wish Doku had some football intelligence. He's so
he's incredible, isn't he? The way he gets at people.
Bad. And as soon as he moved to the left-hand side against Chelsea, he was really good again. It was like, we're going to play you on the right because this kid Savino is going to play in his preferred position. And he looked like a duck out of water, a fish out of water. Like, honestly, Doku isn't the sort of clever player you can play in multiple positions. That showed on the right-hand side. He was so lost. And then on the left, he was really good. Still struggled with the final ball. But
the problem is, mate, that there'll be games in this season where he absolutely tears it up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The reason I think he's actually not a bad pick is he's going to have a lot of game time because of this injury to Oscar Bob, because of the fact that Doku and Savio are likely to share a lot of the minutes over on the right flank. And a lot of the rest of the time, he will occasionally go onto the left, but I don't think it's going to be...
What about Grealish, though?
His main role for now. Grealish will come in on the left more than he does on the right. I just think Doku's going to get a lot of minutes and that will end up turning into points.
That's harsh from 87. I would say Martinelli's got end product. Like Martinelli, not last season, the season before, was brilliant in terms of goal threat. Like he matched Saka that season. In fact, that was why him, Saka and Odegaard were all 8.5 last year. This is my team, Dean. 49, which is probably the lowest content creator score you'll find. I'm not going to go through the what could have been.
Thanks for the sales pitch there, mate.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. I guess I'll talk about the things I'm happy with. Like, I'm very happy I'm on Jota. I'm very happy with Lewis Hall. Despite not having a good game, I do think Newcastle are going to keep a ton of clean sheets. And I do think a 4.5 Newcastle starting defender is going to get you points. I do think Gordon and Isak will be a nice combination when they have 11 men. Like that, That Southampton game could have been very different. And they've got Bournemouth away. And then Spurs at home, which many people would look at a Newcastle Spurs fixture and go, oh, that's a tough one. Well, Newcastle usually, last couple of seasons, have done really well against Spurs at home. And I just, watching Spurs so troubled after they conceded last night to Leicester, they're such a soft centre team. And they've got such a soft centre back line. Like, they've got good individuals in Romero and Van der Ven. But by the way they play and the numbers they commit, you can always score goals against them. And I think Isak and Gordon could actually have fun against that Spurs backline.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks' time. So, I'm happy with the dynamic there. I'm fine with Nkunku. There is a doubt at the back of my mind that goes, how long is Son going to be in the team? Because he was too wide for my liking last night. And I don't want double Spurs attack. I only went double Spurs attack really for those first two fixtures because I thought they would batter Leicester. And they nearly did half-time, first half. And then for the Everton game, and let's judge it after 2 games. But I can see myself selling Son, not this week, but next.
Yeah, what about Nkunku, mate? Because I think the fact that they bought in João Felix, obviously don't need him at all. Just bought in Pedro Neto. You've got at least 5 other players currently competing for a role. I don't understand why they're putting the manager in this situation. It's impossible to keep all these players
clearly not making the signings either. They're not the only Maresca signing would have been Dewsbury Hall.
And he's not going to be playing at all.
And he's not allowed to start him.
No. I just don't know about Nkunku because obviously it's great. Like I would normally be all over that, but his minutes are surely going to be diminished by the fact that João Felix is now in. Yeah,
I think so. It's an issue. I would go so far as to say, though, Nkunku has the ability to still be our best player alongside, say, a Palmer. Therefore, you would expect starts most of the time. I also wonder if... I don't know. I also wonder if some of because we're going to be playing like Conference League football, if they're the games Nkunku always gets a rest in, and priority is Premier League, and therefore he doesn't play much midweek. Let's see they play Wednesday or Thursday night. Let's see how many minutes Nkunku gets. But if he's going to be playing midweek as well, then Premier League, even when he does start, we're going to see a lot of 60-minute subs, which is always risky. I still think for the next couple, I'll keep him. Bearing in mind a lot of the new Chelsea additions, the likes of Neto and the likes of João Felix, they're not going to be ready to be starting games just yet. João Felix won't anyway. So for the few weeks, Nkunku, but I'd be surprised if many of us are wildcarding around game week 4 or 6, any early wildcarders, that's probably when you're not going with Nkunku. But I don't see him as an immediate sell. Not for me this week, but maybe I change that opinion in a week or 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point, but the European fixture, day is it on? It's on Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, so that does throw up a new conundrum. I mean, I know that Chelsea will be expecting to win that game, but you don't know, do you? I mean, I honestly, mate, I don't have that much hope for you beating Wolves at the weekend.
Nor do I.
I think Wolves played well against Arsenal. I think they'll be really well organised. They're obviously way further down the line in terms of Gary O'Neill's style of play and like the players he trusts and stuff. I know that they've still got shortcomings and that Chelsea have the ability to expose that back line. Of course they do and they should. But that Man City game, I just felt that Man City absolutely coasted it. I know that like it was fine margins. It was only like a giveaway error that leads to the second goal. But it just really felt to me like City just felt like it would have been an easy run-of-the-mill win, which shouldn't be the case when you're going to Stamford Bridge and a team that's just spent another £100 million on new players. And just think that there's too much chaos inside that club right now to actually lead to any consistency. I like João Felix. I feel like last time you had João Felix, I thought he was good. I thought it was you probably should have signed him at the time, to be honest. But right now, you absolutely don't need him.
Now, I remember listening to you boys on Ranks 3 years ago, whenever it was, and you were doing the most highly rated like under 21-year-olds. And I remember João Felix was in your, I think maybe top 3, and maybe I think Ansu Fati was there too, which is surprising watching both those players now. But both of them, like these are these were
It was
seen as generational
unbelievable.
talents. Like,
It was
I love
unbelievable when
João
he left
Felix, but
Benfica to go to Atleti. It was an unbelievable transfer. It was
yeah,
way too much money. That was the problem, and that's
it was obscene
obviously,
amounts of money for a kid, wasn't it?
and that's hurt him massively. And the Atleti move in general, but Atleti are laughing at the fact they've managed to get 50 million out of this deal. Like, they're like, how have we sold that team has already got 7 players that already do what he does, and we just sold him to them for 50 million. Like,
Crazy.
what are they doing?
Mate, I'm going to leave you on Big Man's team. Guys, do not go anywhere. Dean is going to do a review of Big Man's team, and I'm going to go play football and let you know on tomorrow's stream how I get on. I'll be injured. At 2 p.m. tomorrow, I'm live with Big Man Bakar. Dean and I will be back later in the week. But guys, do not go anywhere. Dean's going to answer some questions, but also he is going to review Big Man's team.
For rip it apart, mate.
Yeah, go for it. I'm not on. I mean, he's outscored me by 8 points, but you know. I will be back tomorrow, guys. But as I mentioned, do not go anywhere. And Dean's going to kick us off with reasons to subscribe to Chasing Green Arrows. Dean, tell us why everyone's amazing. As I say goodbye. So see you later, team.
Cheers, mate. We know the reason. Now that G's gone, I know that the reason you all are here is because of me and my expertise. I'm outscoring Big Man. I'm outscoring G. So now we can have some proper expert time, can't we? I'll do 10 minutes, 15 minutes with you guys to just address, firstly, Big Man's team. Then we'll do a few questions before I get off of here. So let's look at his team first and foremost. There's fine lines, to be fair. I mean, Eze and Bruno Fernandes. Eze with his free kick goal. Unfortunately... To be honest, though, I kind of put it in the same boat as being, I was unfortunate over Calvert-Lewin. Should have had a penalty. Didn't get it. Wasn't given. Taken away from him. Just like Eze's goal. Not at the same number of points, but you still get points for Calvert-Lewin if that would have worked in that way for me. So I've got some sympathy, but this is going to happen throughout the season. We've all seen disallowed goals come through. Bruno Fernandes is still going to be a really good pick in this game. And I probably am most jealous of all these picks that he's got that I haven't got. Bruno's the one that I was toying with most coming into the season. And you could see, obviously, in that false 9, he's just not getting the kind of chance that he got presented with. Yeah, he should have taken one, but not really the sort of chances you expect Bruno to be getting. He's going to be playing much more when he's a false 9 with his back to goal. You don't really want Bruno playing with his back to goal too often. He can do it and he can fulfill that role, but it's more to make space for others to run into. And that's not really what I want Bruno. But he even tweeted himself, didn't he? He apologised to, James is saying now, he apologised to everybody for not scoring. So I genuinely think Bruno feels some pressure in this game to reward his owners. And so, Eze and Bruno, that could easily have gone very differently for Big Man, and he'd have been looking at a decent return. Look, the Henderson goalkeeper pick, I wasn't convinced by all of pre-season. It looked like an easy 4.5, and it is, but we came into the season with Crystal Palace really unsettled because of Gehi and Anderson having so much speculation around them. It was a reasonably difficult fixture. And there was a moment when I definitely considered it because of the price point. But yeah, like Sashant says, like I came away from it when I started talking last week about like, okay, let's look at this with new eyes. Let's take fresh eyes to this situation. If I was looking at this game now, would I pick Henderson as my goalkeeper for my fantasy team if I was not hearing anything from the outside? I absolutely would not have. There's no way I would have picked Henderson as my goalkeeper. And look at the fixtures, look at the team. Pope for 0.5 more just seemed to make much more sense to me. So I got away with that one really after taking that new approach to the game last week. And I need to remember this throughout the season. Like there will be times, obviously, when we want to get on a trending player. Of course there will. But yeah, thinking about what you're actually seeing is something that I'm going to be sticking with more and more. That's why I chose to watch the Everton-Brighton game at the weekend. Obviously, being in America, you get the choice of all the 3 p.m. games on Peacock. And Everton-Brighton, I was like, right, I want to properly see Calvert-Lewin here. I want to be watching Minte. I want to see Mitoma. I want to see the goalkeepers. And then it starts to analyse properly, rather than just seeing little bits and pieces, see that game in full. And when you watch that game in full, for the first 20 minutes, Everton were good. They were dominant in the game. But Brighton started hitting them on the counter-attack. They started getting a bit of joy out of that. João Pedro hit the post with a long ranger. But then the tide started to turn. Brighton got their goal. And in the second half, once it was 2-0, Everton head just dropped. It was the most worrying thing I saw in the game. Dwight McNeil especially. There was one moment, it was only around the 60-minute mark. His head was just down. That's what scares me most about Everton. But yeah, obviously, like Big Man will definitely be disappointed with the score. 57. My score, somebody just asked in the chat, my score was 76 from the week. Pretty sure we can whack my team up for the last 10 minutes of the show, if you like. But yeah, so that's kind of just where I picked up my points, to kind of not going for players like Henderson, who were trendy coming into the season. Eze was trendy. I was not at any point on Eze, and those two players, I guess it's kind of worked in my favour not to have gone with them in the end. But it's game week 1. I'm very aware. I'm going to enjoy it. Obviously, I don't want to do many weeks where I outscore Gianni and Big Man, so I'm going to make the most of this moment. But equally, I probably won't be texting them too much, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of weeks when they outscore me. Jones Private says, that's just FPL YouTuber template, exact team as Let's Talk FPL and several others. And the template is not something that I like at all. And it's not why I play the game. Fortunately, I'm not a content creator. I obviously do fantasy content, but I'm not under pressure to recommend signings. I'm not under pressure to maintain rank with other people who are also up against each other. And so I guess I've had that to my advantage coming into the season, that I could throw in a few random ones. But that's equally why I've always played fantasy. And I'm sure, like a lot of you, like you play this because you want to watch the games, become engrossed in the games, and then kind of feel more satisfaction for your picks. You know, I don't get the same satisfaction if I just copy and paste somebody else's team, personally. Dunk or Veltman says, Victor, probably go Dunk. He's kind of, for me, is the leader of that defence, and I would just be going with him every day. Wood or Nkunku. I mean, it's got to be Wood. Now, Wood is not a good footballer all round. I'm not going to mess around about that. I don't think Chris Wood is a great all-round forward by any stretch of the imagination. I think for the size of him, he should hold people off better. I think his movements could be better too. His touch could be better. But the one thing I can't criticise Chris Wood for is his goal output. And when in FPL, that's all we're looking at. So when you're looking at Nottingham Forest and you're considering the fact that particularly next 2 games look reasonably appetising with Southampton and Wolves coming up, I think that Chris Wood should actually be on your radar as somebody that could get returns. ISG, I own Diaz and Rashford. Unlucky to get no attacking returns from them, but happy with their involvement. Stick or sell? Oh, these are 2 risky picks. As I said earlier on to G, I think Luis Diaz might be one of my least favourite players in the Premier League at the moment because of how greedy he is. And his decision-making just isn't there. I feel like he's looking for a bit of glory at the moment, Luis Diaz. And I feel like his ego's built up over the past year, probably because he's been linked with the likes of Barcelona. And that's fair enough. I don't know. There's something just off-putting to me about Luis Diaz. Still think he'll have a strong season. But actually, when I compare him to somebody like Nkunku, I don't trust Nkunku's minutes in the game. So if I was to go to the 2, yeah, it's difficult, but I probably would go Luis Diaz, even though I don't like his ball-hogging ability. He's not that greedy, just not perfect decision-making. Eze is greedy. I don't agree. I genuinely don't agree with that. I think that Luis Diaz is greedy. Sally says, how satisfied are you with the Lewis pick? Yeah, satisfied. I mean, it was one of those that it just made sense. When I properly looked at my team coming into the weekend, Rico Lewis was, I spoke to someone at Man City, I said to you all on Friday, he seems a guaranteed starter. Kyle Walker's not going to be coming into this team at the moment. Rico inverts into the midfield. I mean, I actually consider him as a bit unlucky because he got a goal and it was ruled out. I mean, when that went in, I was off the sofa, trust me. The problem with Rico Lewis is I don't know how much longevity there is in it. Like, I think he'll stay in the team for this week, but because I honestly think he's one of the Man City's best players at the moment. But I don't know how long he stays in the team. That's my fear over Rico Lewis. So I'll have to address it as we move forward. Start Hall or Gabriel, says Luke. I mean, it doesn't seem much of a dilemma you're going to have too often. Obviously, Arsenal have got Aston Villa, and my concern with Arsenal coming into the weekend is that they haven't got Mikel Merino through the door yet. And I think that now we're into Tuesday. I thought the deal would have been done by now. I was told at the weekend it probably would be done by midweek. And that would have given him an opportunity to play in that Aston Villa game, which is on Saturday evening. I don't think Arsenal will be able to handle Aston Villa's midfield if Thomas Partey plays. Thomas Partey is a really good player still, but his mobility and movement has reduced in there. And it then means you're getting something different out of Declan Rice. Now, I was speaking to somebody at Arsenal the other day, and their suggestion was that actually for the Villa game, you might even see a different midfield combination for Arsenal, and Partey might not even play. Havertz might drop into midfield and Gabby Jesus might come in up front, which would give me actually a bit more confidence in picking an Arsenal defender. But as I look at it, my feeling is that Aston Villa do score against Arsenal at the weekend. That might slightly affect how I feel about Gabriel pick. Would you do Saka to Foden if you didn't have Haaland in your team? I don't think I would, no, because I would want Saka going forward. I think that for the start of this season, Saka is going to remain a really strong pick. Look at the next two games after that. You've got Brighton and then Tottenham. They're games that aren't easy, but you're looking for that game breaker, and Saka's got it. And I would just I'd be counting on that a lot. Obviously, beyond that, you've then got Arsenal playing against Man City in Gameweek 5, which is an absolute blockbuster on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, what do you think about triple captaining Haaland this week? Not something I've considered, I have to admit. But there's this tendency for all of us to hold on to the triple captaincy for later in the season when we get those double game weeks. And I think in the last two seasons, I don't think that's worked out for me. And there have been moments where I think, do you know what? I wish I'd just stuck it on Haaland against one of the bottom three teams at home and just got it out of the way. Because if you do that, if you can pick Haaland this week and then he bangs, suddenly you're going to shoot up in terms of your point status. I think it's something you should give strong consideration to. Look, remember too that Ipswich are better than probably a lot of people are giving them respect for coming into the season, me included, to be honest. But in a game like City, the likelihood is they do fold because of the relentlessness of City's play. So yeah, I think that's worth bearing in mind. Ricky thinks Foden will get a full 90 minutes. I don't think Foden's going to be getting a full 90 minutes just yet, I have to say. KBH says Nkunku or Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe has now becomes a good pick for me. I was avoiding him for that Man United game, but I think at home to Leicester, Smith Rowe playing the advanced role. First game at Craven Cottage. He didn't get involved enough in the Man United game, and that's partly because of Man United's midfield setup. The first 20 minutes, Fulham were actually getting the better of the midfield. But Smith Rowe was dropping deeper and deeper and deeper. That won't happen in the next fixture against Leicester. Fulham will have more command over that game. Smith Rowe will have more opportunity to score in that game. So if you're looking towards that decision, I genuinely think that, Smith Rowe would be somebody I would be much more likely to take at the moment. So, yeah, go for it. Freddie says, finger crossed for Robinson and Muniz returns this week. Yeah, I've brought in Robinson in case you missed it earlier on. I've ditched Quansah from my team for this week. I still feel unlucky on it. I still feel he could have at least got to the 60-minute mark and Liverpool would have been okay. But I'm not prepared to take that risk any further. Robinson with good fixtures, one of Fulham's best players, going to play every single week. And Muniz is guaranteed to be a number 9 for Fulham. They could even combine Freddie to give you double points as if one the assist, one the goal. Is Walker going to Saudi? That would impact Lewis. I don't think Walker will end up going to Saudi just now. No, I wrote about this 6 weeks ago on Give Me Sport. I was told that the Saudis wanted Kyle Walker. I see that story's come back up in the last couple of days. But I was told that that would not happen right now. So I don't think that City will be in the business of letting Kyle Walker out right now. City obviously looking to get Ilkay Gundogan in at the moment, and then they'll also try to sign a striker as well. It might even be that City sign a lone striker. I think that will be one that comes up in the next week. So look out for it. But yeah, Man City don't really want to lose a player like Kyle Walker at the moment. Right, last couple of questions before we end for today. Thanks everybody that's been joining us, by the way. Please do like and subscribe if you have not already. Rai says, what do you think about Szoboszlai playing 10 now? Worth a punt? Definitely worth a punt. I said it coming into the season, I felt that he was the most underrated Liverpool pick. The way that he's breaking out and actually taking the gap that Salah likes to come into. It was my big concern about picking Salah was the fact that I think he'll get caught wide too often and won't be getting into that area where he likes to run into, because that's where Szoboszlai is going to be drifting into. Szoboszlai is going to be a really good pick across the course of this season. I think actually he'll end up being one of the best players in the Premier League this season. Why City looking at loaning? Haven't they just reported record profits? Couldn't they go Tony? And the reason they would loan is more not because of saving money. It's just because I don't think there's necessarily a pick that they're particularly happy with right now. They've been looking at options around the attacking line, but wasn't really going to be a forward. And Alvarez has forced them to think differently. And I don't think they've got somebody that they know is going to be good long term. So that's why I would just be open-minded about City looking to a loan. Sell Gabriel for Gvardiol, worth the transfer. Yeah, I think you could do that for this week. I mean, yeah, I think that's probably a good time to do it. Gvardiol almost guaranteed a clean sheet, or as good as you can get to. Arsenal, I don't think will get the clean sheet. And then even going into the next game week, City going to West Ham, I don't think Gvardiol will be a bad pick. This will be the last one, I think, from Daniel. Who are you benching out of ESR, Jota, Muniz? It's tricky. It would be one of the Fulhams. I don't know out of Smith Rowe and Muniz. That's really difficult because obviously they've both got goal potential. Benching Smith Rowe would feel wrong to see him sat on the bench. But I think Muniz has probably got more chance of getting a goal against Leicester. That's probably the way I would go on it. But that's a really difficult dilemma to be in. Thanks everyone for joining today. I hope you enjoyed the bit of a strange show we had. G started it up. Then we had half hour of me and Gianni together. And we just had the last 15-20 minutes of me solo. But thanks all for sticking around for it. We'll be back certainly on Friday, possibly before. So keep your eyes tuned to the alerts that will pop up on Chasing Green Arrows across the week. But we'll be back before the next deadline to give you any wisdom we might have for the next games. Cheers, everyone.